Okay.
Okay, Kathy Sipple from CoThrive here, and I have Tony Budak. He is the Timebank Coordinator for the Mahonning Watershed Timebank, and that's in Youngstown, Ohio, right on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Did I get that right?
Almost. It's the Timebank Mahonning Watershed.
Sorry about that. Okay, Timebank Mahonning Watershed. And we are here having this beautiful time together because he actually requested me to mentor him, and it ended up, I'd say, being at least equally him mentoring me. We've discovered so many great tools about the sharing economy that I wanted to just do a quick recording and recap some of the things that Tony has made me aware of. So we both happen to be working on some events that are coming up. He is calling his Share Fest. I was calling mine Epic Skill Swap, but I think at the heart of it, they are the same. They're basically about members of the Timebank coming together, but also just members of the general community coming together for an experiential sharing to learn skills from one another, right? I haven't done one yet, and you have. So is that how you would characterize it?
Yeah, it's very good. Actually, people get a half a table and they put a signage on their table. Okay, I'm a substitute mom, and I like to talk to teenagers, and I like to participate with young people. So when young people walk through the Share Festival, they'll see this person, substitute dad. You know, what do you do? Well, I teach basketball, or I mentor some other sports activity. So, and whatever your hobby, whatever your passion is, if you like to fix things, if you like to teach, the Share Fest has places or space, a cultural space for workshops, for tabling, for events, for children to play, potluck food table going on at the same time. It's an all-day festival, you know, to get together and bring people in the community to recognize their passion, their hobbies, their skill, their love, and what they like to share with others in the community.
Great. Well,
very cool.
That sounds very cool. And this is on a website called shareable.net, and they've got a page specifically dedicated to Share Fest. So I will definitely be checking that out. With the event that we'll be hosting in June, we've got a few details to button up. I was modeling that after something I found happening in Vermont called Epic Skill Swap. And so more than it just being a tabling type event, my understanding of this is that people would both teach a skill actually that day during that all-day event. So if I wanted to show people how to do worm composting, I might say, I'll do that from 9 to 10 a.m. over here in the lobby. Somebody else at the same time might be teaching watercolor painting for that 1 hour. Somebody else might be doing, you know, we've got a lot of beach glass on our beaches here, beach glass jewelry design, you know, something like that. So instead of just saying this is what I like to do, people are actually doing it. So that you sign up, there's a ticket price, you know, I think our ticket price is going to be $20 to attend for the day. And you can go to as many workshops as you want, but it's kind of an invisible boundary. It's not like there are some presenters and some attendees. We would love as many people to be presenters as possible. And there could be, you know, there could be almost limitless, just, you know, the boundary of the venue is really the only limit of how many simultaneous workshops could be going on. And so it's almost like an unconference in a way. There might be, you know, at a specific table, if I wanted to make jewelry, there might be an additional fee for materials. You know, if there are hard costs associated, that would be up to each individual workshop, you know, provider to collect that in addition, you know, beyond their ticket price. So those are two models, and I'm definitely going to be looking into the model that you're proposing. Both of us, I think the challenge that we face to get people interested in a rather large event that takes some planning and some, you know, volunteer power is to motivate our audiences. And so that's what Tony had asked me for, and hopefully I was able to give you a little something. I suggested that he take a look at something like Thunderclap, which is, it's one of the crowd speaking platforms that are out there. A lot of people are familiar with crowdfunding, But crowd speaking is basically where you tap into your audience, your inner circle, and you ask them to donate your Facebook status or your Twitter status, or Tumblr, I think is the other one out there. It's kind of a strange third one to have. But basically, you're going to see what type of social reach you'll get for an important announcement. And so you can get people to opt in advance of some other big ask that you're doing. You might not do this on its own, but rather in conjunction with a crowdfunding platform. So hopefully I'm not over talking. Is that kind of what you took away from it, Tony?
Yes, exactly. And I'd like to get clarification on that last event concept. Is that Epic? What was that again?
Epic Skill Swap. And I think it's
Epic Skill.
I bet I could probably find it if I just, yeah. Shout out to Vermont, because I just thought this was the coolest thing. My friend Lisa Harris, who used to live in Vermont, knew about it. EpicSkillSwap.org. I've got it, on screen right here. They've got
Great. Yeah.
A couple of different weekend festivals, actually. So they I think have built this over time, where it starts with camping and everything and goes from a Friday afternoon through Monday. I'd love to get it to that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, right
great.
now.
That's it's a parallel on what you were speaking about thunderclap and crowd funding. I want to plug IOBY, IOBY, in our backyard. I love IOBY because it really is about neighbors helping each other, neighbor to neighbor. It's about, it's a very simple registration and format and form to fill out to do a crowdfunding campaign. And I think IOBY and Thunderclap is like, 2 home runs, 2 for your money. It's a great thing. And IOBY is connected to, where's that at? I think it's Creative by Design. Creative by Design is connected to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. So by tapping into, and Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is very much supportive of democratic, community-driven community engagement, community development, social work in the foundation world. So I really encourage people to look at IOBY. In fact, I am myself I'm using IOBY this year. That was my call for you to ask you to mentor me on advertising, and you've already helped me with this crowd-seeking thunderclap thing.
Well, I'm very glad, and one that I like just because I'm actually a permaculture student, and I had used it successfully for a client who wrote a book about permaculture. I used We the Trees to do the crowdfunding for our initial launch on our Timebank, because I actually saw time banking as a social permaculture project, like mapping people, like a people garden, basically, the way that a permaculture garden designer would look at that. So that's why I felt like, I belonged in this community, and I kind of, phrased it that way. I don't know that that's really important, but, Tony asked me for some language.
I do. I think it's great. I have to say something here about permaculture and the watershed. The watershed is about not so much permanent culture. I don't know. The watershed idea is that it's an ecology of social relationships, networking, institutions, about giving and receiving in the culture. So we need to see the culture as an ecology, as a watershed where all different sizes of plants and animals live together in harmony to create an abundance. And that's what a watershed is about. It's about an ecology of abundance, only rather than, out here in the plant and animal world, I'm talking about it in the social world, in the cultural world, in the art and working world, in the day-to-day living in your neighborhood. We need to see that as an ecology, a watershed ecology.
You're making my
heart. I do agree with you.
You're making my heart go.
And I want to also say that Mahonning is an American Indian word for the pathway to the salt. So the American Indians in Ohio, before the white man came here, came to this area where I live because there was salt here, and they traveled the river and they traveled the trails, and they called it the Mahonning to get to the salt because they needed salt to cure and to preserve their foodstuffs. So again, it's about the ecology of the watershed and the salt, the necessary minerals and the sustenance in that abundant life. So again, I really resonate with what you're saying about CoThrive and the way you look at permaculture, and that's why we call ourselves the Mahonning Watershed.
That's really beautiful. And honestly, it's interesting that you were influenced by Native American tradition, and I was too. I had my my logo, actually. I'm jumping around here, so please forgive me. This is not scripted, obviously, but a good friend of mine actually created the logo for me. He's a graphic designer up in Milwaukee. I was trying to describe to him what I wanted it to say, wanted it to do. And we've got a nod to the Native American tradition with, this is a stylized version of the Three Sisters, which in permaculture is called a plant guild. And so it's, the idea that corn, beans, and squash are all planted together, and that together they're more successful than monoculture. If we have a whole crop of corn, that can be taken out by one destroying beetle or something like that. But the way that the corn, beans, and squash work together is the corn provides a natural trellis for the beans. The beans can, use the corn, and then the beans can also fix nitrogen that they put into the soil for the corn and the squash, and then the squash provides a natural mulch and keeps the roots cool for the others and keeps the weeds out. And then we've also got worms in here because I'm a fan of composting with worms. And so the worms, of course, are doing their bit.
That's wonderful.
It's kind of like a healing
thing.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in that little, logo. But I just love that we came to somewhat of the same ideas without even knowing one another, and we just see that that's kind of inherently built in time banking. It's good to society.
That's really wild.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Well, and I just made Tony a CoThrive Collective member. We're going to figure out how he can best be used in this community, but I'm thinking if we could give you Timebank hours for you schooling our members on how to use time banking. We're both on the Our World platform. So even though, you're in Ohio and I'm in Indiana, we both use the same software. Often people just need a little help. They don't quite get time banking. And I'm so busy helping with the marketing. If you were willing to help with that, that could be a win-win. You don't have to answer yet, but we're going to figure out a great way that you and I can keep these ideas flowing, because I love where you're going with your thoughts that we need to come up with more scalable solutions. We were having a great conversation one-on-one, and we said, you know what, let's take a minute to record this. We talked about some great tools, and let's share it with other people. If even 5 people see this video and they learn about one new tool, I'd say that's a success. And just one more thing that Tony made me aware of that I'm going to be checking out is something called justaddspice.org. And this is a way to allow local businesses to get involved and interact with Timebank if they're willing to accept time credits, at their place of business. So I greatly appreciate him giving me this resource, and I've got a lot of reading materials here ahead of me. So thank you. Anything else from you that you'd like to say?
Well, no, we did mention actionnetwork.org, which is, if you're a nonprofit, it's the networking of email lists. Most of us have an email blast list that we send out to our members. Well, this is a network of organizations that come together to share those email lists. And, of course, you have to have authorization to do that. And the first email that goes out to, let's say, Kathy's group would be, if you want to receive this email, you're invited to participate in the broader network. And if so, your first action that you take is to accept an invite to join the Action Network. And in this network, there's all kinds of social, activity going on. And when I say social activity, I mean organizing for civil rights, for women's rights, for labor rights, for voting issues, for campaigns, for legislative issues, campaigns for elections. It's all over the map. It's just a huge. And if you notice, if like some of us are on the intake or on our email quite a bit, you'll be seeing that this code, this Action Network word, that down at the bottom of the screen, these emails coming from different solicitations to say, take action with this. Well, it's probably coming out of this network called the Action Network. And I've got two nodes already in this Action Network. I've organized what I call the Mahonning Action Now, which is the man, M-A-N, Mahonning Action Now, which is I'm trying to amalgamate people that want to work in the area of community organizing, working towards, the fundamental people helping people. That the best way to do that is if you do what you love to do and help other people to do what they love to do, then maybe someone will help you do what you love to do. And that's, the salt of the earth kind of approach, the Mahonning Action Now, the man. So
I love it. I love it.
You see that coming up. That's from, and that group is, that network is not just people that live around Northeast Ohio. I'm hoping that I can get people like in, Indiana or in California, anybody that does this kind of organizing can come together and share the things that we've learned. I've learned so much from Kathy, and I'm sure the things that Kathy has learned from me, but we don't have a platform in a crossover area of commonality where our passions are similar, that how we can work together. We're both in our silo of Timebank silo in Kathy's area and the Timebank silo in my area. But where's the overlap, and how can we bring things together? Not on creating another app to use on our telephone. I'm talking about, how can we come together on the human things that we love to do together. Okay, so
yeah. Well, you know what? I don't have all the answers, but there's a word, I really like the ideas behind sociocracy. It's like, is it good enough to try? CoThrive might not be the answer to all of that, but until we figure out the perfect answer, we're going to meet here, Tony, on CoThrive. And, we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out, and then hopefully people even smarter than us, and we're, I think, kind of smart, they'll listen to this, they'll weigh in. And let me just.
The Action Network.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The Action Network is a nonprofit. I don't have any stock in the company. All of this is nonprofit work.
Yeah. But if you have ideas for us, you can reach me at Kathy, Kathy, at CoThrive.org. And Tony, do you want to give a shout out for your email? If somebody's got ideas that they want to share with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Just my name, Tony Budak. TonyBudak @tbmw.org, which is the initials for Timebank Mahonning Watershed. That's Tony Budak at tbmw.org.
Okay, and I'll tell you what, check the notes in the show description, and I'll type that up and put it there too, in case it's hard to hear or something gets transcribed. So, well, thank you for joining me today, Tony, and thank you for asking me for help, and you ended up helping me just as much. So I love that.
Thank you so much. It's a win-win. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say we successfully co-thrived today, so that's a good day, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead.